Welcome to the October NCL Coaches Call. As I was saying, we're between games right now. So just finished up the practice game and about to start the individual game. We'll show you all those dates momentarily. But again, welcome to the call. Thanks for joining us today. So here is our agenda. Always lots of things, lots of good information for you. And then also hopefully some good conversations too about halfway through the call. So we're going to start with some updates. We're going to talk a little bit more about the NCL research paper competition. Emily's going to talk to us about the Fall Spirit Week. Franz is going to talk to us about the team game setup reminder and also the post-game debrief on Discord, which I'd have to say my students love, specifically for those questions that they like almost have it solved and they really want to figure out the solution. Remind them to jump on Discord at the end of the individual game, and they will be able to talk with fellow competitors to figure out how those particular challenges were solved. And also another important item on this agenda is introducing our newest board member, Chris Lemmon. So we will do that. And then, like I said, about halfway through the call is when we will have our conversations. We're going to have an introduction led by Paul Kim, who is at the City Colleges of Chicago. He's a student of Chris Lemmon, and he's going to go over some strategies that they apply for the team game. And then that will lead us right into our coaches conversation about methods for communication, different tools that you use to help organize your team, and then strategies for vetting and submitting answers. So that's what Paul's going to talk about, and that's also going to be our conversation that we'll have about halfway through this call. So quick introduction, if you don't already know, my name is David Zychik, and I am the commissioner of the NCL. Also on the call, we have Franz. There's a wave from Franz and Emily. Hello, Emily. And Emily is our community engagement manager. So we will be taking you through today's call. So let's jump right in. So I've been announcing this on several of the calls. We do have a research paper competition, a contest. And here are the details. So we are looking for submissions from researchers, academics, students from the US and Canada. The idea here is we want to promote innovative research and also have a platform so we can exchange ideas about cybersecurity competitions. We are definitely looking for interdisciplinary research, if that applies, and papers from all subject areas. Of course, we are trying to focus on competitions specifically and the NCL. You still have plenty of time to start working on this paper because we will have this open all the way until January 30th. We are offering money. It's always a good incentive. So first place, we are going to give out $600 for the first place paper, $250 for second place, and $150 for third place. And I think I saw the chat pop up. There it is. Yep. So you can either use that QR code that you see on your screen to get more information about how to submit, but also in chat, Franz provided a link to the Google Doc of how to submit and where to submit your paper. So let me pause right there real quick to see if there are any questions about the research paper contest.
I had a question.
Great.
I know I asked this in Discord. Is the format going to be the template that was provided? I know there was some confusion on which template that should be.
I think we've cleaned that up now in the material. So I think what we are saying, and Emily, I think you're on this too, right, is we changed it so it's the IEEE format.
Okay.
I think we kind of had, two different ones. And that really is just, to make it easy to, read the paper. And then also, of course, check for all of the references. So yeah, everything will be in IEEE format is what we're looking for. And the template should be there for you to use. So good. All right, a little bit of interest, at least on the template piece. So there's interest in putting a paper together as well. And again, just remind you, this is also open to students as well. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. All right, so I am also conducting all some research. I will not be submitting for the contest, but to kind of get you in the spirit and start thinking about things that you could research, I am currently doing an investigation into the career advancement of cybersecurity in terms of how has the NCL prepared students for industry. And then also I'm asking questions such as, did the NCL come up during the job interview? Did the hiring managers know about the NCL? Were they asked questions about the NCL and so forth? And so far, lots of great positive feedback. I have, actually Franz, I think just put the link in the chat as well. But I am looking for students that are currently in the cybersecurity industry and competed in the NCL. So if you know anybody that fits that category, I would definitely appreciate you forwarding them this survey. Gotten a pretty good amount of responses so far. I think I'm up to about 60, which I'm happy with, which gives a good showing. And like I said, very positive, interesting results as well. So I will be publishing that paper hopefully shortly, and probably on the next call, I will at least share some of the results that I've gotten so far. Okay, next we have Spirit Week. Emily, you're up.
Thanks. For anyone who's new here, I'm Emily. I'm the Community Engagement Manager for the NCL. And typically I pop on during the coaches calls to kind of share programs and initiatives that we have going on in the community, and doing calls for arms for people to volunteer, or just to have your students be aware of the different opportunities and programming that we have. So in the next few weeks, you're going to see information coming out in our social media as well as our emails about Spirit Week. So Spirit Week is going to happen right after the team game. And we're excited to have a few events that are going to be a little bit more career prep events for students. On Monday, the 6th of November, we're going to have College Pitch Day. We have 8 schools that have been confirmed to pitch about their programs and school culture, and just give great information to our students. So we definitely encourage everyone to show up, get some great information, network with each other. And for all of these items, we're going to have more detailed information coming out next week and so on. But this is just a little bit of a teaser. On the 7th, we're going to have the Players Committee, the NCL Players Committee, go through an NCL Challenge walkthrough, which is really exciting. And it's a fun social way for players to interact with the Players Committee and really just kind of break down the different challenges that they've seen throughout the competition season. On Wednesday, November 8th, we have an event called Hack My Resume. And this is open to everyone to get some advice on how to have give the best resume and have their best foot forward when they are going through different interview processes. And we have a whole bunch of recruiters and talent acquisition team members who are going to be leading private rooms with small audiences. So Hack My Resume is a wonderful event for students to understand what they should be putting on their resumes, what they should be leaving off, how do they share transferable skills and things of that nature. So we're excited to have the Hack My Resume event coming up in a few weeks. And then of course we have the award ceremony that's going to take place on Thursday, November 9th. And following the award ceremony, we're going to have Q&A with the engineering team. So we have a lot of fun things coming up. We hope that you share with your students. Everyone is invited. So that means anyone also outside of the NCL community. The more the merrier. We're happy to share these resources with everyone. And if you ever have any questions or you want to know how you can participate in any of these events, feel free to reach out to me or anyone on the team, and we'll be happy to share info. So we hope to see you all at the Spirit Week events.
Great, thanks, Emily. Franz.
All right, thanks, David. So just a quick recap for the rest of the season. We're kind of coming up on all the games. This Friday, we're going to start the individual game that will start at 1 p.m. Eastern and go all the way until 9 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. And so it's the entire weekend. This is drop in, drop out. So you don't have a specific window that you have to participate in. There's as much flexibility as your students want. And so they can spend as much or as little time as they would like. 2 weeks after that, we're going to have the team game November 3rd through the 5th. Again, 1 p.m. Eastern Friday afternoon, all the way until 9 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. And then we've got Spirit Week following right after that. An important thing to keep in mind before we get into the team game is the team game setup. So the deadline for the team game setup is the night before the team game starts. And to make sure that we're keeping everything fair, once the game has started, we can't make any roster changes, any changes to any of the teams. So just make sure that your students meet that deadline. Otherwise, they're going to be stuck not on the team that they want to be on. The team setup process is done entirely by the students. And so the process works where one student will set up the team, they'll get an invite link, they send that link to their friends, they click on that link, and then that will add them to the team. Now, teams can be made of members from any school. There are no restrictions. However, if you do want your team to count towards your school in the Cyber Power rankings, you're only allowed to have one member who's not from the same school. So just keep that in mind. You can compete, you can get on the leaderboard, but in order to specifically represent a school, that will there is that requirement that you can only have one member who is not part of that school. Another thing to keep in mind as well is the experienced student players. If there's any experienced student players which were self-selected during registration on a team, that team will be put on the experienced student leaderboard. So that might help you with your decision making, how you want to set up your teams. And then in the case that a student does not complete the team game set up by the deadline, they can still participate. They'll just be put on a solo team. So you don't miss out, but of course the team game is meant for people to work together. So you miss out on that opportunity, but the students can still go through the challenges and solve them, even if they miss that deadline.
Hey, Franz, can you take just maybe a few seconds to talk about the experience level one more time?
Yes. So for those of you who are not aware of the changes that we made recently, so starting last season, we added an option for students during the registration process to self-select themselves as an experienced student or just like a regular student. This is to help us kind of keep things fair and differentiate between people who already have a lot of industry experience, they're coming back and getting a degree, versus students who don't have any work experience whatsoever. And so during registration process, the students have some guidelines in terms of how they would like to self-select. We provide a lot of flexibility with this, but on your dashboard, when you're looking at the teams that are being set up, there will be an indication there, so you can see as the faculty member if there are students who are not set up the way that they should, and maybe you have a team being flagged as an experienced team when that's not what your intention is. But that's self-selected. If you find that there is a change that you want to be making, you should just have your student open a support ticket and kind of explain the situation.
Great, thanks.
All right. And then David mentioned this earlier, but after the games, we always get people asking, hey, how do we get the answers? How do we get the solutions? How do you solve the problems? After the games, we do a post-game debrief. Now, we don't give away any of the answers because we think that that's just a shortcut for students where they will just get the answer, they won't learn anything. So we keep the discussion on Discord to be strictly the steps to solve, the methodologies and tools. And so we'll talk through what do you need to do to get the answer, but we don't want to just give out the answer because then they don't have to learn it. And so there's the QR code and the link to join the Discord. The Discord is open to both students and coaches. And so if you want to go through, look at the answer, the solution guides after the game ends, you could do so. We also have the Coaches Corner, a dedicated channel within the Discord for coaches to share information and ask each other questions. And you also have the ability to sync the NCL announcements to your own Discord server. So if your students are getting updates via Discord, this is a quick and easy way for them to just see what's going on within NCL. And the post-game debrief happens like the second after the games end. So at 9 p.m. Eastern on Sunday night, there's going to be a ton of activity kind of bursting up in the Discord, but there's no kind of like time limit on that. So you don't have to stay up late to see the discussion there. It'll be available the next morning, and it's a great opportunity to hear from the game creators what the official solution guides are, as well as from the community, because a lot of players come up with some creative ways to solve different challenges. And so highly recommend it, especially if you want to really help your students after the game kind of figure out what can they do better, how can they learn. This is a very, very easy resource to just point them in that direction. And we have all of the discussions in kind of like a forum format. So it's very easy for them to go through and look at specific questions and get kind of their get an understanding of how to complete those. All right. And David, I'll pass it back to you.
Okay, well, it is now my honor to introduce Chris Lemmon. I first met Chris in Vegas a few years ago. She was there with a group of students, and I asked, "Hey, what's going on?" And she had taken her students to Black Hat. She was able to arrange for them to volunteer. So I was just super impressed with the degree that she went to get her students involved in cybersecurity by attending Black Hat. And I'm like, yep, this is someone that truly cares about student success. So I'm extremely happy to see that she has now joined the NCL board. So welcome, Chris. A couple of little points about Chris, where she's at. So she's the advanced security engineer at Secure Yeti. She is also an instructor at the City Colleges of Chicago. NCL CTF skills, of course. She's been participating in the NCL with her students for quite some time. She's an experienced course facilitator, cybersecurity career accelerator course facilitator, lots of things. She's also involved in the DEFCON Groups Board, and of course, WiCyS, the Women in Cybersecurity Equity Advocacy Committee. She's been coaching NCL for 6 semesters, 6 seasons now. And again, it is my great pleasure to introduce Chris. Chris, welcome to the NCL board.
Hi, thanks so much. It's been great. I'm so honored and just excited for this endeavor with the NCL. I mean, as you mentioned, like this is my 7th season. And I've just been so impressed with everything that the NCL is doing. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be able to further contribute to the mission of getting, new and diverse talent into the industry.
Great. Well, thanks so much. Again, we are super happy to have you. And kind of speaking in the same light of having student support, I think you are now going to introduce one of your students that's going to walk us through a team game strategy.
Yep. So very excited to be able to introduce Paul. This is going to be Paul's 5th competition, the 5th time that he's taking the NCL CTF class with City Colleges of Chicago. And he has graciously agreed to share his perspective from the students' outlook on the team game strategy. So over to you, Paul. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you, Chris. I'm going to start sharing my screen here real quickly. Okay. So, yeah, my name is Paul Kim. As Chris mentioned, this is my 5th time competing in the NCL CTF. Started hacking since very doing light mischief since I was a little kid. Studied, did some boot camps and things like that during COVID, and discovered my local city college's NCL class and joined, and have been in there since 2021 doing NCL CTFs. And I started as a cyber analyst last year, and play video games and golf in my spare time. Okay, so moving on, I think one of the most important aspects to success in team game is team selection. And through the practice game and the individual game, I think coaches will be able to find the cream kind of rises to the top, and you'll be able to see which individuals you can put together as a team that will work together well. And I think the number one priority, regardless of geography or skills, is availability. So what Chris did for us, I think in my second or third time, was she put out a survey asking how much time we were willing to dedicate to the team game. And anyone who was willing to put in 20 or more hours were grouped together as a team. And people who were willing to put in less were also grouped in different tiers. And I think that really helped our school be successful in the game, because the people who were passionate and were willing to put in the time, regardless of technical ability or their score in the individual game, we were able to spend a lot of time together, have a good time, have a fun time learning together and teaching each other. So even though the score is important, I think the skills and as corny as it sounds, the friends that you made along the way, I think provide much greater value. And I would encourage coaches to have them maybe try to at least meet in person, if not be on a call together at least once throughout that weekend. One thing that I found was very successful, this is something that we kind of started doing on our own, was we created our own Discord server, and we created channels for each problem, for each challenge, and every time we solved it and got 100 points or 100% of the points, we made sure that we did that, and it was a good morale boost because we were able to post funny GIFs and high five each other through Discord when we weren't able to meet up in person. And I think this problem, we worked on it for a long time, and one of the teammates got it, and it was nice and fun. And also another thing I encourage coaches to do is encourage the students to do is create a public Google document or some sort of cloud document for the students to put all their answers on here before the answers are submitted to improve accuracy. So in the beginning, you know, you can put some of the challenges here, and if there's more than one person working on it and they have different answers, they could put them here and you know, highlight them red for having it not being submitted, and highlight it red for having successfully got the points. And so for example, this isn't highlighted red here. We didn't know if this was correct, so there's a question mark there, and that kind of can signal to other players on the team that, oh, this is not solved yet. I can go and work on it, even if all the communication is not all there. So to summarize, I would maybe ask the students how much time that they have to dedicate to the game, and group those students together who have the most time and who are the most passionate about it. and create a Discord so that they can have them create their own Discord outside of class, so they can speak amongst each other and encourage each other and have more fun with it. So, oh, and that's my presentation.
Great.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, Paul. That's great information. I definitely appreciate some of those points about how to collaborate and share. I think that's a really good idea with the shared Google Doc, not the public shared Google Doc, but definitely the shared Google Doc amongst the group, so that you guys can coordinate. So perfect idea. Maybe we could take a minute to see if any other questions come in for Paul before we get into our discussion time. The other thing to mention too is, like you said, it's not necessarily just about the points and coming in first. It's definitely about, like you said, team bonding, and then also being able to work in a team. So I know that that's very important for hiring managers to know that someone that they're hiring is functional in a team. So I think this gives great experience for that team building and team working skill. It looks like Anthony, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Hi. Well, thank you. Appreciate Paul for the presentation. I'm a first-time coach. So I guess, and not totally sure how the process works, but what can you divide like the sections up by I guess interest? So like, for password cracking, if one student's really interested in that or is really good at it, they answer all the password cracking questions, or is it like everyone has to answer password cracking questions? What's that format? How do you, I guess, divide it based on skill level per topic?
I think once you group the students into the team, they will naturally be able to figure out who can do what pretty well. And I don't think you as a coach have to stress too much about it. They'll figure it out on their own as a group together.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
And I've also noticed for like some of my student teams, when they're forming, what they'll do is they'll ask fellow students of like, hey, what did you do well on? What do you like? And then they kind of try and, pick across all the categories. So they have people that are going to, be able to answer all those questions. All right, Callan, you have a question?
Yes, I do, and I put it in the chat as well. So not necessarily directly to what you were presenting, but what's your feeling? What's the right size of a team that is functional and does not encourage, let's say, non-participation? If you have some thoughts into this.
I think every team that I've been on has been around 4 to 5 people. I don't think we've ever had more than 5. I think there are talks about maybe having a max time of 7 this time. We had 5 people and it didn't really affect individual level of participation. Of course, there were some weekends that maybe a person came up, there was an emergency and they couldn't really do too much that weekend. But frankly, I don't think it's too big of a deal if you can maybe prioritize their availability first.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, great point there, Paul. I know it's over 3 days, which is kind of a long time period, and students have other outside lives as well, even though we want them to just do NCL. But they do have some work, some have homework. So I think that's a great point to be able to, figure out, maybe have a larger team so that, you have teammates that are coming in and out depending upon what they have to do during the weekend besides NCL. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, thanks again, Paul, for your time and insight and sharing the strategy. We definitely appreciate it, especially for, not even just first-time coaches, but I think all of us it's great to be able to see how other people are forming their teams, so we can pass those strategies on to our teams. Okay, so now we are going to move into discussion time. What we're going to do is look for some room leaders. Those room leaders will be taking notes in the Google Doc so that we can have a summary of what people talked about across the rooms. And Franz just now put a link into the chat for the breakout room notes. So your Google Doc is going to correspond to the breakout room that you're in. And let's go to the next slide so we can look at the topic again. And as you do that, a question just came up about when will the link to the recording become available? I know we get those out within the week. Emily or Franz, did you want to address that question about when we will have the link to this recording ready?
Yes, we usually get it the week after. So probably expect it like Tuesday of next week.
Oh, great, thanks. Okay, so here is our topic, and we did want to kind of stick with the same topic of what Paul was presenting, just so we can further strategize and maybe be able to also, add more strategies. So this is what we'll be talking about in the breakout rooms. Paul, I'm hoping that you'll stick around and maybe we can have you kind of float between rooms in case there are more questions that come up. But here's what we'll talk about: team game strategies. And some of that was we'd give some of us would give extra credit to participate. So we weren't requiring it in the class, but a couple of us are, and it looks like one more will be transitioning to require participation in the NCL. I thought this was an interesting one. Giving prizes to students, so actually cash prizes to the top 5 students that participating in the NCL. For Kaylin, it's the NCL is 25% of their grade, so it's quite a bit. That's high stakes there. So they do have to participate across, I think you were saying, the gym, the practice, the individual, and the team. And then if they get 1,500 in the gym, they get extra credit. So that was interesting. For setting up the team, most of us let them decide. There's discussion about capping the team at 4 to 5, even though NCL allows 7. And the mention there was if you have 7, you might have some slackers that might be hiding behind those others that are actually doing some of the work. So some people are capping at 4 to 5. What else? Most of us are using Discord, posting study guides on, I'm hoping this is a private GitHub, because again, just to reiterate, if we are sharing answers, that should be internal. Make sure you don't have any internet facing answers. Blackboard share material, and so on. So that was our discussion. Let's move over to breakout room. I think it's 3, and I'll pull up that Google Doc. And it looks like Professor Roger, you were leading group 3. So let me share that Google Doc and maybe you can give us some highlights.
Oh yeah, I should have wrote. I'm sorry. I didn't write.
Oh, you didn't? That's fine. Okay. You want to just give us a quick summary of what you guys talked about then?
Yeah, we had we talked about the strategy, right? How do they build their team? Especially if they're dealing with people that are remote, which, I have a high school team, so I guess it's different than a college team, right?
Sure.
So high school is a little different because we do incorporate it into the class. And it's just like a regular field trip or whatever, right? It's a big deal. We have posters and all that stuff. Try to build like a high school team, like a regular chess club or whatever. But they were talking about the college level, how to get people participating, how to get them involved. We talked about that, right? Especially for the weekend of the games. And then what one of the room members was talking about, they have like a lecture series before the games come up to talk about the different parts and the different things they might see in the game. I thought that was cool. But they didn't use the gym though, which I suggest they should use it. That's how you know if the team dynamics is going to be there. Right.
Yeah, and obviously a great way for them to just figure out how to get started on challenges as well, with the having the walkthroughs and the videos. Yeah.
Yeah, and working together.
Yep.
You know, just because in a classroom, that don't mean they work together or even know each other.
Yeah,
especially remote. Remote is harder. Yeah.
For sure, it is. All right, well, thanks for that overview. Chris, looks like you're up next for room 4.
All right, well, you all kind of heard what our strategy was, but we do base the teams on student availability and really how they have participated in the class so far, and you know what they've contributed during the practice game and the individual game and all of that. So based on how much time they want to spend, and then we do generally do 5 to 6 students per group, because the feedback from the students was that 7 just gets too noisy and it gets hard to work together. We also do consider whether they're going to be meeting in person or whether they're not local. For communication, it seems like we were using Discord. There were only a couple of us in there that had actually had previous seasons competitions. So that was me and Z Martinez. So we were both using Discord. And then I will also reserve a couple of rooms on campus for anyone who wants to meet in person. And then in terms of organization, mostly Discord, like Paul mentioned. I do offer to make them a Discord channel within our own server, but then they have the ability to create their own server, which is more ideal because they can, you know, make as many channels as they want and whatnot. I've also had students use Notion and Basecamp as well to keep track of the problems. So we also have Microsoft Teams, and then D2L, which that's I believe a learning platform, right? And then Cisco. So various methods of working together remotely. And then in terms of strategies for vetting and submitting answers, we haven't, I don't think, come up with anything other than Google Sheets. That's pretty much the go-to in terms of, you know, checking answers across teammates.
Right. And I can add one too. We use Trello. You guys have looked into that. That's it's kind of fun because it's like little sticky notes that you can slide across the screen.
Okay.
Oh, it's still free, Trello?
Yeah, it is. At least
okay.
I haven't had to pay yet.
Okay.
All right, and now for room 5, I think Anthony, did you want to take the lead here? What did you guys discuss? Anthony, hello.
I've been talking on mute.
Oh, okay. Talk louder.
Yeah. So I just sent you a direct message, David, about kind of the notes I took. So I was on mobile and didn't really write them down here, but we did have, James was nice enough to put some of the stuff in the chat. I believe James was the one that did it. Long story short, yeah, kind of got a feel for everyone's game here. Went a little bit off script as far as the questions that were asked, but one of the takeaways I liked was that people talked about, you know, which like OS they're using or like VM they're using to answer some of the questions. It seemed like kind of Kali Linux was the top one, and Discord was the main communication choice. One of the other things that came up was the fact that like there are perhaps some web hosted VMs that could be used if you don't want the students to, go and download Kali Linux on their own box or having to go through a whole process of setting that up. What else? Another thing I really liked was that Pamela talked about how she kind of lets the teams govern themselves, and essentially you let the players answer questions based on their skill level. So if a player's more advanced, they focus on the more difficult questions and let the newer players answer the easier questions, essentially, so everyone is able to participate and grow in the process. So I think that's a good recap of what we talked about.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks so much. Yeah, and I think that's a good point too, of having, newer players in with the experienced players, because obviously you want to have those teams continue. And for me, unfortunately, or fortunately for the students, they graduate and they move on. And so you don't want a big void there in knowledge. So it's good to kind of get some of the newer, younger players in with the experienced players, so you can kind of keep that going year to year. So again, thank you everyone for participating in this month's call. Just a quick note, we are going to have next month's call a little bit earlier than usual, because we don't want to have it right during Thanksgiving week. So you will be able to, you'll see that new date come out soon.